What up, folks? This is Beyond the Ether podcast. This is your boy Dino, aka a Solid Five,
And Nikki T. Baby, Creeper and Whale.
and
And
we
we
are
are
Horror
the
the
Horror Explorers.
Explorers. So spooky.
Boo.
So,
Wow.
skadoosh.
Ah.
I wish I had fireworks and shit in the background. Just be like, yeah.
Pumpkins
Um,
exploding.
that'd be sick. America. um, so we got a couple of awesome guests this week. We have Nathan Baesel and David Stevie,
Welcome.
Good boys.
and
Glad,
sorry, go ahead, Nick.
no, so just saying glad you could join us.
Thank you. And David, did you just welcome them to their own interview?
I don't know.
Hey,
I guess so.
hey, we'll
Did
take
I?
it.
I thought I said hello, boys.
You said welcome.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what I
I
said.
heard boys. I did hear boys.
Go back. Let's go back to the replay.
Yeah.
I want a review. I want a video review.
Yeah.
Go back 10 seconds.
So we know you guys from Behind the Mask, the Rise of Leslie Vernon,
2006.
but how did that all start? I mean, how did what was like the
How did you
idea coming from?
Yeah, how did you two come together with this?
Oh man, I had a fever dream one day about 2002, 2003, where I was sort of questioning all my life choices about being a screenwriter and moving from Wisconsin to LA.
Mhm.
And Halloween was playing in the background, and I had this thought of like, man, did Michael Myers ever wonder like if he was making the right life choices? And like, did Jason have to go back to work at the factory on Monday morning? And it just blossomed. The whole thing popped into my head of this analogy of an up and coming slasher killer trying to make it in a very difficult industry.
Yeah.
And it really was just a reflection of my struggles as a young writer. As it moved along, Scott's as our young director, Nathan and Angela's young actors in the beginnings of their careers, and it just really resonated. And I think that's part of the reason for the long-standing, the longevity of it is that at its core, it's just an analogy. It's just anybody who's trying to do something creative with their life, where people are kind of like, really, that's what you want to do? Wouldn't it make more sense to, go work for your dad's company or be an insurance salesperson and it's just stuck ever since then. And then it got into the typical Hollywood, machine and got to Scott and then the casting process is where that guy jumped in.
And so Nathan, how did
His ways.
that's me. How did you hear about Behind the Mask, Nathan?
My agent told me and sent me a script, and I read it, and it blew my socks off. And I had no standing. I had never done a film before, so
Mhm.
despite some TV roles, I didn't have any leg to stand on. I wasn't offering anything to the production, so um, I I was really just hoping, crossing my fingers and toes, that the strength of my audition would convince them that I was the right guy for the role.
It did.
Um, and it went a good way for me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so jumped in at the audition stage and just kind of rode the train ever since.
Because you have a huge background in theater, don't you?
Yeah,
Mhm.
theater, and trained for theater and TV too, I guess. But
Yeah, I saw that on your IDMB. You were in an episode of Storage Wars. You was... I love Storage Wars, dude. I
of
love
course
that
you do.
show.
Of course you do. It's an awesome show. And
Great.
I'm fortunate to have been involved with the making of the show
Oh,
for,
okay.
I don't know, since season 4, 5 or something. We're on what, season 17?
Yeah, so
Oh,
many. I used to watch that every morning. I
me
love
too.
I
that
know.
show. It's a great
I
show.
know.
Good job.
If you're sick or if it's a rainy day or something like that and there's a marathon on, there's nothing better.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow. Wow. Now I'm thinking maybe Leslie Vernon has a storage unit somewhere that, God, what would be in that thing? Holy crap.
Because
All kinds of broken tools.
Yep. Yep.
They got to go somewhere. And
yeah,
I always tell myself I'm going to get around to fixing those.
Awesome. all kinds of sabotage tools. No, that's really cool. Yeah, I used to watch the show all the time. So like, I used to live in the house with a whole bunch of clients, and every time they heard Storage Wars coming downstairs, they always knew it was me down there watching it. Oh, Nick's awake.
That's
I
funny.
want to I want to jump back for a second though to Nathan. He kind of glossed over a pretty important part of his involvement was that when we were starting the auditioning process, like we didn't really have a concept in mind of exactly what Leslie Vernon would be. We knew the prototype was a very lumbering Hulk, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees type guy. We figured we were going to get a stuntman like Kane Hodder or something like that.
Hmm.
And Nathan brought something very different to it, probably as a result of his theater background and the fact that he wasn't, he didn't, no offense, but he wasn't really a horror fan. So he didn't have any preconceived notion of what the slasher stomp kill, super stomp killer is supposed to be. He just brought
Yeah.
his own thing to it. And it was such a complete, 180 from what we had been seeing. And I think that, another part of the longevity of the success of this thing is Nathan as an individual, as an actor, the choices he made, and also just his personality. That's the face of this thing. I mean, Leslie Vernon, is an icon now, and it's still it's still weird for me to say that, but Leslie Vernon is an iconic killer, and that has as much to do with what Nathan brought to it uniquely as
Hmm.
it did from the concept of the story or the script.
Hmm. Was it always like your idea to have this take place in the same universe of Friday the 13th, Elm Street, or did that come along later as you were writing the script out?
No, it was absolutely always in that world. Like I didn't want to do with the things that Scream had done. It
Yeah.
wasn't going to be. This was, and when Scott Glosserman came in too, we're both really diehard fans of '80s horror. So
Hmm.
this was never ever for 1 second going to slip into, a spoof. It was never going to be, anything other than respectful, loving satire. And the concept was always this is their world. This is not a world where Halloween is a movie. This is a world where people really like that. That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
And it like I mean when you look at what happened with In a Violent Nature, right? Like
Hmm.
seeing into the world, like clearly there's an appetite for that. And I think it's really important to make the distinction that it is a cinematic world. Leslie Vernon could get on a bus and go to Haddonfield.
Hmm.
I don't mean to hijack the conversation, but it's funny, Stevie. I've done a lot of interviews with you, and you've talked a lot about um, everything, but that feels like something that's really distinctively behind the mask that is interesting. It drew me to the project in the first place because it was such an entertaining viewpoint in the genre, which was that this isn't a world where, these are film characters. This is the real world. These are
Yeah.
real people. And I don't know that I've ever heard you speak to like where you got that idea from.
I think it was just again, it was part of that fever dream of like, wanting to break into the, as a screenwriter, wanting to get into this world so bad. It just felt like the analogy carried forward to, Leslie would be like in awe of Freddie and Jason and Michael. Like these guys would be his mentors, and it just sort of sucked me right into that world. It was never ever in my head about parodying slasher films. It was always about the journey of a young artist, and it never budged. I mean, you read it. This has not really ever come up to this level before, but it never budged. It was always me going into a portal into the world of Haddonfield. Like
Hmm.
Halloween's my
Right.
favorite. Halloween's my go-to movie. Like and that immersion. That's what we all seek, right? We want. That's why we do haunted mazes, and why you do Halloween experiences and things like that. Like, because you want to pretend for just a little while that you're in that world,
Yeah.
right? And that's always been what drew me to it.
Cool.
And on top of that, like that's never really been done before, right? I mean, like at least not to that like that big really. I mean, they've
Yeah.
always like kind of like teased little things here and there and like
Like
throughout different
like
movies,
I
but
feel like the closest thing that's been done to that was Freddy versus Jason, and well, kind of like in the same cinematic area, but not with like Haddonfield, and Elm Street, and Crystal Lake. That was like, oh, it's original.
I mean, I'll take that in a different direction, and I think just based on my background and where what influenced me, you got to go outside of horror because it is there. Like anything Christopher Guest does is very, very deconstruction. Waiting for Guffman or Spinal Tap. Like these are you're going into a parallel version of the real world where there's some absurd things that happen, but like Christopher Guest was a pretty big influence, and that sort of it's meta, like because you know the world and it's sort of real world adjacent, but there's some leeway and you can bend the rules a little bit. So I think you're right. And then I mean I want to say like I'm not versed enough in all this, but like A Man Bites Dog was kind of a different take on it. But I think the examples are there. But yeah, I guess come to if you really put the screws too much to me, I can't think of another horror slasher film that did what we did.
No, definitely.
And how did you guys go about getting, Robert Englund and also, an appearance by Kane Hodder? That's just
And
like,
Zelda.
and Zelda, yeah.
We said pretty, please.
And then boatloads of cash. No, I'm just kidding.
And then cash. Yeah.
I was gonna say
No.
the pretty please doesn't really work because we've been trying that.
I mean,
try cash. Try
Oh, yeah,
boatload of
yeah.
cash, and then see where that
cash
gets
is
you.
good.
Money
We'll
does
give,
talk.
we'll give it a shot.
I think that there was a lot of hustle. I mean, Nathan's right. There was a lot of hustle from Scott and from the casting directors, Matt Skrabalik and Marissa Ross, who did the casting. I mean, they worked their butts off because Scott was a known first-time director. He had no resume. I had no resume as a writer. Nathan had no appreciable resume. Like Angela was our star because she was in Home Alone, right? She was like she was the had her own trailer on set.
This whole movie was banking on Angela. She was bankrolling the whole thing,
Yeah.
her cachet.
Until we got, when Robert got involved and
Yep.
Scott Wilson, we started to all of a sudden kind of get these like, holy crap, we got Kane Hodder to do a cameo. Like that was super cool. And then all of a sudden Scott Wilson's on set and we're like, okay, this is a real Hollywood actor. Like this is legit now. And then, Nathan has probably a clearer memory when Robert actually showed up, but we were in a wine bar in Portland. And I don't think any of us really believed that Robert was actually his people said he was gonna show up. And then we're in this wine bar, and then Robert Englund walks in, and there's kind of this hush that falls over the restaurant bar because it's like, is that Freddy Krueger? And you can just feel it. And I think for me, I was just like, oh shit, like we're a real movie. Like this is a thing, yeah.
And it was, as you said, a wine bar, so Robert was totally at home, and he's ordering this and that, and he pays the tab, which I wasn't flush with cash. I knowing that we were going out to a wine bar, I was like, how much is this going to cost?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
What's the Miller Light version of wine?
Yeah, you can't. So
How many stars is this on Yelp?
But then Nathan's right. Robert showed up, and he was like, first of all, his presence is amazing. So we're all fan geeking out, but trying to be cool. But then it's like he would order a bottle of wine, and then he would explain it, and he was like a sommelier, and we're all just like, oh yeah, absolutely, I could taste the notes of leather and hard work, and totally, but it was surreal, but yeah, that was
the notes of leather and hard work.
yeah.
That's why descriptions are always like that. Oh, it tastes like Tuesday. Like
That
what are you talking about?
that must have been the toughest ball of wine you could find right there.
Oh man.
I can't tell for shit for unless it tastes good. I don't know. I'm like the worst at explaining notes, and it's just not me. I'm a beer guy.
It's all bullshit, man. Everybody's making it up. We're all pretending. Oh yeah, we can taste that. Sure.
Yeah, you take the hops. I can take the hops. The hops are good. Strong hops. These are fresh. But that was cool. We were watching it, and I was like, "That's the chick from Poltergeist," and he was like, "Oh yeah, it is." I'm like, "What?" So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of like cool ass cameos from like these old '80s movies, because I remember watching Poltergeist 2 and 3, and it was cool. Like we were talking about how Kane Hodder is in Elm Street, and we're like, he's trying to retire from the lake, he's trying to get away from Crystal Lake, and Taylor's over there harassing him in his neighborhood.
Yep.
Fully
No rest for
blown.
the wicked, man. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of work cut out for us to get, to we got to match that energy and get those moments back in the sequel. And I mean, I think, we're on track for that, but it's cool. We have a little bit more clout this time. It's not quite the same as like, hey, we're an upstart little film that nobody's ever heard of. You want to be part of it? It's been a little bit easier this time to get people, to at least, you know, to take notice, and to kind of get the offers out there. It's been cool to be swinging a little bit bigger of a bat 20 years later.
Yeah. How was it getting the budget together to make the first movie?
I have no idea. That was all Scott. I mean, I don't even, I can't exaggerate this. There's just no way to exaggerate this. Scott willed that movie into existence.
Hmm.
Just sheer force of will. We tried so hard to get production companies on board and to sell it, and it just ends up being this frustrating experience with like, well, yeah, but we think, it would be better if it was like set here, and we think it should be a musical, and you need a car chase, like, and it's just
Yeah.
super frustrating. And then everyone's like, well, horror comedy doesn't work, and nobody believed in it, and Scott absolutely did, and he absolutely willed this thing into existence, just the sheer force and dedication.
That's amazing too that he stuck with his guns and didn't, bend to the system and change his whole, perspective on this thing. Otherwise, it would have probably never worked because the way it was portrayed worked perfectly because
Yeah.
it was like watching the birth of a killer, or soon to be serial killer,
Yeah.
because like it was his whole development, how it was making a plot, character development, and like how he was planting the seed to have this all started. So it was so cool to watch.
And I think, I think another thing you're responding to there, if I may be so bold, is I think that, humans instinctively respond to a story that resonates at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And what you were watching wasn't just the birth of a slasher killer. It was the birth of a director. It was the birth of a writer. It was the birth of an actor in a role that he would define. It was just the metaphor. You see what I mean? Like it just resonates because everything that was happening on screen was mirrored to some degree by the creative process that we were all going through as young creative types trying to break into the business. And
Yeah.
like nowhere is that more apparent to me than in the hayloft scene is still one of my favorite scenes where, I, as a writer, of course, had overwritten the super, melodramatic dialogue of, Leslie just being so happy and, all the things are about to happen. And, Nathan, to his credit, I think found the distilled version of that. And that moment in the hayloft scene, I mean, Nathan can speak for himself, but to me, that crystallizes the crossover between what was happening to Leslie, what was happening to all of us in real life.
Hmm.
And so, like, while you guys were filming, or even during the writing process, did you already have the idea of putting all these like little Easter eggs on some of the scenes? So like you had like the Hellraiser box in Scott's home, and like little things like that, like throughout the film. Was that like just kind of you're like, oh, I should put that on the table, or was that like already in the script when you were like writing it out?
No, none of it was there. There was none of it. And Nathan showed up on set with a list of Easter eggs that he specifically wanted in the film.
No, no, it's Scott. It's Scott and our art director and our DP who were versed in the genre and as David has talked about before, they weren't just putting props in there that a really dedicated horror fan would recognize. They were setting up specific shots and lighting in a specific way to evoke particular films, scenes from particular films. There were little art design elements well, for instance, um, the music that's playing in the background
Yeah.
of the scene where Leslie's getting ready to go out and do it the night of.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's from The Shining,
Shining,
Yeah,
yeah.
Stevie,
yeah,
is that right? Yeah.
yeah.
So, that was a consideration that was happening on multiple levels to try to make the movie as much of a feast for really dedicated horror fans,
Yeah.
but also that kind of welcomes in folks who are new to the genre or who maybe have even avoided the genre because horror movies scare them, like me. Um,
Yeah, Behind the Mask is a gateway movie.
it's a gateway. It's a
It's a
gateway
gateway movie.
movie. Yeah, and you can watch Behind the Mask, and you can, start to have an insight into why um, horror movies are, why they're even a thing, and what is inspiring about them, what's entertaining about them, and also what's their value in instilling horror
Yeah.
in audiences, that's an artwork all itself.
Even Gordy Hamm, our composer, he was borrowing stuff from classic horror films, even in the instrumental score. Like there was stuff he's like, well, this needs to feel more like this movie, or
Yeah. Yeah.
you need this is what evoked here. Like everybody was sort of drawing from our experiences from stuff in the '80s, and I'm excited because we're going to obviously do that again, and 20 years in now, we have 20 more years of other films that have become classics to borrow from, and other things that not only, like Nathan said, visually sneaking props in and little artifacts, but other styles to emulate and
Mhm.
shots and famous things like that. And then I always like to say that the real beauty this time, the second time around, is that in addition to the Easter eggs from classic films and from whatever's happened next, we're going to get a chance to put in Easter eggs from the first film. So there's going to be Easter eggs for
Mm.
deep fans of the original film in Behind the Mask too. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Nathan, having this being like your first horror movie, did you ever get comfortable to like the violence and horror of the movie, or was that something that was like kind of like it was hard for you to adjust to?
No. Well, it it wasn't just my first horror movie, it was my first movie. And so I didn't have any frame of reference for anything.
Yeah.
This character, any character on film. So it was all new to me, and what a fantastic exploration I was presented with. Um, Fortunately, a lot of the documentary stuff, well, all the documentary stuff was scripted, and so
Hmm.
everything that I thought and felt, my entire who I am was laid out for me there, and I just needed to kind of wrap my mouth and my heart around those words. Um, it was when we were doing the cinematic stuff, the mask on stuff, that
Hmm.
I was less familiar, but it was a really incredible opportunity to explore some aspects of my psychology that I don't really do much in my day to day,
Yeah.
and to get paid doing it.
And while you're while you're filming and you're wearing the mask, I know you don't wear the mask that much in the movie, and obviously at the end, but like when you were doing like some of those like long night shoots, did it bother you to have that mask on for so long? Because like I know when I wear masks sometimes it bothers the hell out of me. Like I just
Mhm.
you get sweaty, you get uncomfortable, stuff like that.
That stuff was, for better or worse, we were shooting most of it in conditions that were pretty cold and adverse, let's just say. And so um, uh, it that forced me to, well, yeah, it forced me to maintain my state for, as long as necessary, and just it felt like when I had the mask on, I wanted to keep it on until we were done until the job was done, and then I can get the mask off, and I'll be a human being again.
Yeah.
Um,
The other perspective on that from the rest of the cast and crew was that it was a really tight group. Like we were sort of everybody was always around. Like there wasn't much like, oh, I don't need to be here for the next 3 days. Like people were there. And so I think from what I saw on the outside looking in was that, it just wasn't conducive for Nathan to be, the charming Leslie Vernon, which isn't really that far off of Nathan. Like when the cameras aren't rolling, we're having fun and we're interacting and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
easy. When you had to go into the boy mode, I think there wasn't really a place for him on set. Nighttime, daytime, adverse conditions doesn't matter. You can't really go from the how do I say it? Like the experience of being around each other was always so easy and so friendly that if they were shooting the documentary, that still played. Like it still sort of fed into the characters. And then when the cameras weren't rolling, it was still easy to just kind of keep some of the conversations going and all like that. Nathan couldn't really do that. He couldn't just like sort of stay Leslie and then take the mask off and chit chat with us while they were setting up the next shot and then put the mask back on. Like I think, at least from what I saw, it was just Leslie as the boy didn't belong in that group of us who were still just sort of hanging out and chit chatting and making jokes and waiting for somebody to to call places or whatever. So I think Nathan. It was fascinating to watch. I mean, I don't want to blow too much more smoke up his skirt, but like it was really cool to watch Nathan's commitment to it. And it heightened, I think, the experience for all of the other people that he was acting with because it was off-putting in a way because they're like, why isn't Nathan over here? Why is he just sitting there? And Nathan kept himself away. He found a chair to sit in, and he had a jacket, and it was just, I think everything about it, intentional or not, heightened the experience for the rest of the cast and the crew to some degree too, which is like, oh, he's in a different place. Like I need to interact with him differently, and
Yeah.
that translated directly to the film.
I heard Kane Hodder does that too on some of it. Like when he used to do the Jason stuff, he used to be like away from the cast. So then, while they're doing the scenes, like they could actually be scared of him, in those moments, which is pretty, I don't know, fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's cool. Stay, completely in character. That's like really like dedicated to, the film, the art of the movie.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just won't work. Yeah, like I was saying before, like I'll wear this mask sometimes, but it's like more like, different material, and it pulls on my skin, like around my eyes. So
Oh.
if I'm like recording an episode, it it annoys the shit out of me.
You got to go full method actor, man. You got to like just forget about the real world and just focus on. I don't know.
Gotta
Yeah, I
li
tried.
gotta live in it. Gotta live in it and sleep in it.
Oh, fuck that.
that's right.
How was it coming across, because your locations are, it's on a barn and farm and stuff. So how was it coming across those filming locations for that movie?
Man, that was inspiring. Were you out? I don't know if you were out by then, Stevie, when we were scouting out those locations for the first time.
Yeah, I was there at the
Um,
beginning and then at the end.
okay,
So yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I remember seeing the farmhouse for the first time. We're like, holy shit, this is where it's gonna go down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the farmhouse was right next to the house, and the house was so distinctive looking, and
Mhm.
it was just perfect casting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Travis Zaruni was our production designer, and I remember we got there and there was like a shed where the apple cider press
Yeah.
is,
hmm
and
hmm
Travis was already like you can see with like just literally dragging stuff around, like no, this has got to go here, and like you could see it start to like
All every single one of those locations that had been scripted had its own already existing kind of space
Yeah.
that was perfect for shooting that scene, it was pretty dreamy. And in fact, that little tour that we got of the place
Mhm.
um, was where that scene was born, the hayloft scene. because it was walking around there and just seeing everything come together. It was coming into place, and it felt like, my goodness, this is a gorgeous backdrop to material that's already fantastic. And I'm already feeling great vibes, and it's a great group and really supportive and fun, and it feels like we're on track. I don't know if we'd locked down Robert England at that point, but
Mhm.
it was good stuff was still coming, and I was just walking around those fields there with my headphones on, listening to music that was, making me feel things. And all of a sudden, I realized I'm so fucking happy right now.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking happy right now. And then I burst into tears, and I was like, that's weird. First of all, I'm not prone to bursting into tears. Second of all, that I would do it over happiness.
Mhm.
I don't know that that's ever happened to me before, and I realized that that's what that moment in the hayloft scene was. And they let me try it out that way, and we did some that were kind of goofy and boop boop boop, but yeah, that was the one that stuck.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
How long was filming for the
Oh, I
first
was
one?
just gonna say that.
It was about, well, I mean, October into December. Like
Okay.
there was a bunch of it's we're learning on the fly, and there were some delays, but I think we started in October and then finished like the first week of December. Because I remember like the one of the last nights was shooting the scene where Leslie's chasing Todd through the cornfield, through
Yeah.
the muddy field, which was supposed to be, thick with bloody mud,
Hmm.
and that's why Todd was going to get stuck. But it was like in the 30s, and
Oh,
the mud, everything froze. So we were just like, just absolutely trying to. But I remember being there, thinking, yeah, this is straight up winter time.
Yeah,
This is not fall.
because it's supposed to get bloody on a harvest moon night.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was frozen chunks of dirt.
Well, well, he did a good job pretending that he was getting stuck in it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So, with Eugene's character, is that supposed to be Billy from Black Christmas, like as he's older? There's a lot of debate on that.
I mean, it's no debate to me that, yeah, he was always Billy. I mean, Scott or Eugene says, that part of his career was that he just did as many jobs as he could, and you fit as many as he could in a year, and you hit once and you went away. And yeah, it was always, that was always, I shouldn't say always, but it was really, really early in the life of this thing. Maybe not at the time I wrote the script,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm also a huge Black Christmas fan, so the original, of course. And
Mhm.
I think, to me, Scott just, again, now in retrospect, I think it was after I met Scott where I was like, oh shit, that's Billy. But yeah, so no debate. In my mind, it's Billy.
Okay.
So
I was
Now, you,
curious about that.
you talked about working with Robert Englund. How was it working with Zelda on set?
she was she was
What? What?
she was a celebrity, man. I mean, she was a classic, recognizable horror
Yeah,
star. And she was the cherry on top of our casting. I mean, she
yeah,
was the last person cast. Was there on set for the final day of shooting. Um, and she wrapped up that entire, whirlwind of a project. And it was just the final affirmation that we were on the right track. She she generously gave us her time, and the impact that she made, though it was, I don't know, it wasn't, the longest shoot that she ever had, I'm sure,
hmm hmm
but her voice. I
yeah,
mean, we
hmm
don't even see her really
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the first, what, 20 seconds or so,
yeah,
but that voice is so recognizable
yep.
yeah,
that just her voice alone to a horror fan um, is like that's money.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a
That's
moment.
money. That's the sound of coins falling from the sky, you know?
There was one of the moment I remember about that was that when she was there, Scott, we were between setups, and Scott kind of was just standing there, and he looked at me, and he was like, "Am to put the preface on this, Scott was fighting a terrible cold. Like
Yeah.
right at the end of the shoot, he had burned his candle at both ends so hard that he was running on pure fumes and cough medicine and vitamin B and like everything in the world. And so he was already sort of in a like more highly suggestible state, I guess you could say. And he was sort of standing there with this faraway look in his eye, and he looked at me. He's like, "Is this really happening? Am I directing Robert Englund and Zelda Rubinstein right now?" And I was just like, "Holy shit, yeah, you are. I'm glad I'm not you because that's freaking me out right now."
Oh fuck. I would have lost it.
Yeah, but yeah, just her aura. Oh man, the aura of her. She was great.
Was
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
that
she was
Scott's
awesome.
choice to have her deliver her dialogue as like the as was in Poltergeist?
I mean, it was all by design. I mean,
Okay.
we knew we had this horrible exposition dump of information of, Leslie and Kelly's backstory and what had Kelly Curtis's relatives done and Leslie's parents. And I mean, when you're looking at a chunk of dialogue like that, like it's really hard to try to figure out a way to sort of not make it sound like an exposition dump where you're just like back in the day, cue the
Yeah.
montage, right?
Hmm.
And Scott was like, he just saw a different way to go with it. He's like, Zelda is so iconic and that voice is so iconic. Like that is such pure cover for this. I mean, if you just listened to anyone else doing that scene, you would have been like, "What the fuck?" Like, let's go, let's go. But it's Zelda, and he's like, she's gonna crush this exposition just on the sheer strength of her presence and her voice, and
Her
it
voice, yeah.
worked. It's like it almost makes it even more that funny, but more satirical because. And she knew it too. Like she was in on the joke. She's like, "This is an awful lot to say." We're like, "Yeah, I know." She's like, "All right." So she knew the drill, man. It was awesome.
Fuck.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. Nick, do you have anything else before
I understand that you did. I think I've okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. A short called "Wait for It," which has to do with Leslie Vernon. Correct? It's like a continuance of him, like a little bit more background.
Well, you can go to gather.com and stream the film and find. No, I'm just kidding.
I will.
No, no, he's not kidding. GATHR,
GATHR,
gather.com.
yeah, which is
GATHR.
Scott Glosserman's company, right? Which it all sort of feeds back into there's a point for what the pitch. When I shot Wait for It, it was just intended to be something that I was doing as a learning experience as a writer to learn to be a better screenwriter, as I had not directed anything before. And I knew that if I could ask, I knew what I wanted to do was have just all the moments that I love about slasher films are the build up moments, like what it's waiting for the jump scare, right? So I thought, wouldn't it be great to have like just to explore all of these moments we've seen over and over again, and have people wait for it. And I knew that knew that I needed an ending for that. You can't just tease, tease, tease. You got to deliver. And
Yeah.
I knew that I knew I could ask Nathan because he was always at a phone call away for if I was working on yet another sequel, a version of the sequel, or had somebody to do, and I say, hey, would you consider doing this? Because I knew that I knew number one, Nathan's presence would help elevate the film, and number two, I wanted to give something back to the Leslie Vernon fans who have been waiting 10, 15 years at that point,
Yeah.
and us teasing, 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 and never delivering on a sequel. And so there was a way to tie it into the LVU, we call it, the Leslie Vernon universe. And Nathan's involvement was one, because I needed a friend to help me out on the cheap. And number two, I wanted to tie it into the Leslie Vernon universe just to offer something back to the fans. I didn't know at the time that it would end up fitting in so perfectly between film number one and Behind the Mask 2. It's just a happy accident. The way it ends, the way Wait for It ends, and that's just a teaser I'm going to leave hanging there. It was just almost a happy accident that it ends up now really speaking really well to what has happened. It wasn't by
Okay.
design, but I'll take it.
I'll definitely look that up
Oh yeah,
as soon as
right after this.
yeah.
Um, and so is there anything that you can tell us about part two? I mean, I know you can't give out a lot because, it's still you guys are about to develop it now, but
Nate, you take that one, man. Nathan has read so many different versions of the sequel scripts over the years that
I don't know what I can say, except that yeah, I have read a lot of versions. I've seen a lot of iterations, and the eternal challenge has been how to make the math work. Of problem number one, why in the world would Taylor have any reason to get back to in the proximity of Leslie Vernon? Um, how do we make that work? Square that circle. And the other one being, how do we comment on what's going on in the genre right now?
Mhm.
And the genre changes so rapidly,
yeah.
um, that that commentary is constantly shifting. And so each draft, each iteration has always been very, very different, because it's solving those two problems in different ways, sometimes very different ways. So this most recent script, um, there's so much happening right now in the genre that is just fantastic to talk about, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and then the way that they've solved the equation of how to justify, Taylor and Leslie being in each other's proximity again, is a really, I think, artful solution, and and it justifies having, yeah, that's I think all I can say.
I'll add from the creative side of it. It has more. It was very clear and easy. Once we settled on, if the metaphor of the first film was a young artist at the beginning of their career trying to break into an industry that's tough,
Yeah.
whether it's writer, director, actor, composer, editor, anything. Um, this film is 20 years later. So it is, I could say it's set 20 years later. We're not like, trying to do any movie magic like the year after or anything.
Mhm.
But it's about, what is Leslie reflecting on in his career as he looks back? He is, for all intents and purposes, in the lexicon of a couple of different genres of, areas of media. And Leslie is a one-hit wonder. He did one thing one time and it was awesome, but is that enough? Like, what is Leslie reflecting on as the 20-year anniversary creeps up?
Yeah.
Is he content to rest on his laurels? Does he have something else, an opportunity that's presented itself? What is it he wants to do or to say, not only about, his own legacy, but also in Leslie's world, in that cinematic world we talked about a while ago. Leslie has seen a lot of his mentors and his contemporaries, kind of, move on or quote unquote retire or pass away. And there's been a bunch of his contemporaries, his peers, that have sort of come up with him. There's been some that are behind him that are arguably sort of made a bigger splash than Leslie Vernon has. What's his relationship and involvement with them, and how does that all reflect on, the real world of my career as a writer, Scott's career as a director, Nathan's as an actor, closer to the end of our careers than to the beginning of it. So we got to play around a lot with commentary on the genre, on the world in general. And yeah, to Nathan's point, there's a component of that that Taylor needs to wrestle with too. What has her life been like for these last
Mhm.
20 years? What has she done or not done that she wishes she could have or should have done differently, or not?
Yeah, because I assume at this point Leslie Vernon's gonna have like a massive disfiguration because he got burned, in the barn. Or is he, because that's what I assume, because because like I like how it ended, and it gave like that Terrifier vibe to it, where he's in the morgue and he sits up and it's playing Psycho Killer, but you see him, he's all covered in like black suit or whatever from being dug out of that burnt barn. So But is he gonna be disfigured?
I
Is
would.
he? Pretty
Leslie's pretty good at the planning stages.
resilient.
Leslie knows what he was signing up for.
Yeah,
uh,
I was after all applying the burn cream, the burn
Yeah, the burn gel. Yeah.
yeah.
like works like preparation H, closes the pores, and
Your special
my
flame
special
retardant.
flame retardant. It's pretty sweet.
But yeah, and and let's be honest. I mean, Nathan's also 20 years older too. So, oh no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's too true.
When does production start for this?
We want to be shooting in September and October for sure.
Okay.
So, essentially now that the Kickstarter campaign is formally ended, and the Kickstarter campaign will continue through the summer for late pledges for people that want to still get involved and get some of the behind the scenes access and things that we're offering. But for all intents and purposes, we're transitioning now into pre-production. So the formal pre-production process, it estimates probably we're looking like an August type of a timetable for things
Okay.
to really, for the rubber to really hit the road. August, September, October is the window.
I wanted to say, I wanted to thank you guys for doing the whole Kickstarter thing because it gives like fans like us the opportunity to be like even slightly involved in the project. So which I was happy to be in to do my part. So that's pretty awesome that you're giving the fans like just enough for them to be like, hey, like join our team to get this done.
Mhm.
So that's pretty awesome that you guys were doing that.
Well, thank you for joining the team for sure. It's the whole reason that we're doing this, having this conversation right now in the first place is because folks like you have held this film in their hearts and and held it close, and it's lived on because of the fans. I mean, that's why we're doing a sequel, is because there's fans out there. There's no way that we could have, based on Behind the Masks. Um, there's no way that we could be making this movie right now without the success of Behind the Mask, and that success doesn't show up in numbers. Because up until this Kickstarter, as Stevie says, we didn't really know what those numbers were. We didn't know what our fan base was like. We didn't know how big the army was.
Yeah.
The Vernonites out there, we just didn't really know what the metrics were of this whole thing. And turns out there's a lot
Yeah.
of devoted fans out there, and what I feel like we're offering in exchange for their support is offerings that the belief is, and the hope is that it will give folks that want to be a complete holding your hand through the entire process so that you can see exactly what the making of this film, the process of it is like. Stevie and one of our other producers, Aaron Kuntz, is going to be sending out daily updates that you can access to when you make those contributions to Kickstarter. And so, the hope is that if you want to be, if you're a fan, man, we'll plug you in. We'll walk you through the whole experience so that you can get a not just a bird's eye, but a really boots on the ground kind of sense of the experience of making this movie. You are part of the team as
Yeah.
far as we're concerned.
Did either one of you guys, did you sign up for the Discord? Is that part of it, if you don't mind my asking?
I'll be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so and that's what Nathan's talking about. The practical application of that is that Aaron and I will be, and we have Christy Jett, who's she's going to be our sort of social media type person, associate producer. We're going to be populating Discord literally every day to answer questions and we're going to be providing, like, this is what happened on set today. This is, the fog machine broke, we had to scramble to do this. Like, tomorrow we're a day behind now. Tomorrow we got to reshoot so no spoilers, of course,
Yeah.
But the idea is that, as Nathan said, we wouldn't be here without the fan support. Just we wouldn't. So we want to be able to give fans the access to how that second part is shaping up. But even if you're not inherently a Leslie Vernon, a Vernonite, but you're an independent film fan, or you're aspiring to be an independent film, content creator, this is an opportunity to really like nuts and bolts type stuff, to ask questions and to see how does it work and like I know they raised this much money on Kickstarter and this is the budget they're working with. Like, how does that actually get spent? What happens when something goes wrong? What do we want to do that we're not going to be able to do? Like, there's going to be heartbreaking moments where we're like, man, we really wanted a Ferris wheel, but we didn't get a Ferris wheel, or like we're actively right now trying to get, cameos. That wasn't all bullshit. Like we know we want all the same people you guys want. We're horror fans too. So, now the rubber's starting to hit the road. I'm like, okay, the right people need to be talking to other people's people, and we need to make these things happen. And that's the type of stuff that we want to, again, we don't want to give any spoilers away to ruin the experience of the film, but it's not lip service. We really want people to have the access they want. We want you guys to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of cameos, if you need some extra bodies to kill on screen, hit up your boys.
What's funny is that one of the offerings we did on Kickstarter was to be killed by Leslie Vernon. I think there were 5 of those slots or something like that. We were selling those for $5,000. I think
10.
so.
10.
10 grand,
Yeah.
and they all sold.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
great.
can't afford that.
No, I know. I mean, I had so many people reaching out going, man, I would love to be killed. I can't afford that, But, the good thing about sequels is that there's always more bodies in the sequels. So, maybe we'll need to up our body count and we'll reach out.
Yeah.
You can blow my body up. I don't give a shit.
That's so amazing though that you were able to fill those slots and obtain that extra funding for that.
Isn't that wild?
So yeah.
And to a person, those people that it wasn't a whim. I mean, of course they're in a position where that is feasible for them because but these are all hardcore fans of the film, so they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Like they're not. This is not just like, oh, that sounds cool, I'll put it on my Instagram. Like these are people who are like really hardcore fans of the film. You don't do that lightly. You know what I mean? You're in addition to the 10 grand, you're committing to, going through the process of having to, be on the set and all that stuff. And I mean, Nathan can attest to this more than I can, but it's a lot less fun.
It's a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
It's just waiting. That's all it is waiting.
Those 5 people were saving that money for 20 years to do this.
Yeah, right.
They're spending 10 grand to wait, but they're going to be featured kills. And so when the work ends up showing up, they're going to see themselves killed in such spectacular ways that it's going to be something that they've always got this thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so jealous.
Is filming going to take set in the same location?
No.
Okay.
So the likely candidates now are Central Illinois, like around the Champaign area, or potentially Massachusetts. Those are the areas that either for tax incentive purposes or for access that we have to locations. Like those are the 2 front runners. Scott and Aaron and Cam, the core producing team, they know that they want to keep this in the U.S.
Yeah.
At Portland, unfortunately, it's not the same tax incentives and situation that it was financially 20 years ago, which sucks. We'll probably send some B unit, we'll send a crew to Portland to get some exterior B unit stuff just for continuity and to kind of tie things together. But I don't know, it sucks because we have one fan who he regularly travels to Oregon and visits the old house, which is still
Mirko?
standing.
Our German friend?
Yeah. Mirko, is that it?
Yeah,
Yeah, hey
Mirko,
Mirko.
what's up?
But it sucks because like the house is still there, right? The
Yeah.
property itself isn't really feasible anymore. They've torn down some of the other things, and I think it's part
Mm.
of it is more of a working farm now, so it's just not feasible. But um, you know, we'll get the flavor of Glen Echo, but it's not going to be in Portland.
Okay.
Well, can you at least answer this? Is it still going to be like taking place at Glen Echo?
Yeah,
Like,
Oh yeah,
okay, all right, cool,
Glen Echo's the town.
yeah,
That's where
gotcha.
my legend rests.
yeah.
That continues apparently.
Yeah.
It's like Springwood or
Right, right.
Lincoln County or Haddonfield or what's this what's oh no, I'm blanking on what I know you did last summer, Westboro or West Point or what
Well,
West something.
Westboro's Scream,
Scream. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it's one of those. We want Glen Echo to be
right?
It's one
Still a
of
staple.
barely more memorable than my memory.
it's one of those West.
Somewhere out there. Nick, you have anything before we close out?
I don't. Do you?
No. I just want to say thank you guys for popping up and giving us your time. I know you guys are, you guys are always busy, but you guys got a lot of, stuff happening soon. So
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Is there anything that you guys want to throw out there for the people who are listening that you want to get out?
I mean, I want to say thank you to the two of you for doing this. And, the reason we're busy, quote unquote, is because of the fan support that Nathan alluded to earlier. I think we would not be in a position to be about to make ourselves really, really freaking happy if we hadn't been lifted and carried to this point by the Vernonite fan base. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to everybody. I mean, please continue to spread the word. And like I said, the business side of this is that the Kickstarter is going to continue with late pledges, right up to the moment. Everything that we get helps to subsidize us wanting to reach a little bit higher and a little bit farther and one more kill or one more spectacular thing we get to do. So, please keep spreading the word to not just Leslie Vernon fans, but independent horror film fans and people who want independent horror to do well. I think we're on the cutting edge of a real renaissance in independent horror with, being able to make this movie and then distribute it directly back to our audience as part of the plan. There will be a theatrical release, but really a part of the drive of this is to get this film done as quickly as we can and figure out ways through Scott's company gather.com again, which is a direct to audience distribution system. We want to be able to get this movie back to, your a little small town. Like if you're in, rural Oklahoma right now and you can never get movies to come to your little 150 seat theater, there's going to be a way for you to get Behind the Mask 2, The Return of Leslie Vernon, to come and play in your theater in your town. If you get some of your friends together, streaming options. Sorry, this is a longer thank you than I thought.
No, you're fine.
But I think it's the point is that we want to deliver on the promise, and because we owe it to the fans. So we want to make this with our fans. We want to get it back to the fan community as quickly as we can, and we're trying to do that outside of the normal studio distribution system,
Right.
which is challenging. So every little bit of support helps.
Right on. What about you, Nathan?
Word.
Well said.
Simple. Yeah.
All right, so for those that are listening to us weekly, we are Beyond the Ether podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Beyond the _ Ether, or my personal account is Cali _DTO. Nick, what you got?
You can find me on Instagram at Bay Area Creep, and that's all I have.
And if you want to email us, it's Beyond the Ether Pod at Gmail.
Yeah. Did you guys have Instagrams? That you wanna
Oh
put
yeah,
out there?
and
What are?
Basil is my Instagram.
Yeah, add DJ Stevie, or is it? Oh shoot, is it David J Stevie? Oh God, I don't even know. I mean, there's only one of me out there, so it's pretty easy to find me.
Right on.
Again, thanks guys for your time, and
Yeah, a pleasure having you two on here. It was great talking to
I
you.
was so excited about this one.
Yeah,
Thanks, you guys.
I know we're definitely looking forward to part 2, so can't wait for that to come out.
We'll be seeing you in the Discord channel.
Oh yeah. All right, good day, guys.
See ya.